There are towns that never see the sun for weeks or even months straight. These locations are at such high latitudes that the sun either rises very late or does unrise at all during the winter. It's a beautiful place to live, if you don't mind the eternal darkness. So today we're going to explore one of these towns, learning what it's like to live somewhere that doesn't see the sun for 65 days straight. First, let's take a look at this town. This is a small town in Alaska. It has a population of around 4,300 people. It sits on the northernmost point of mainland America, and during the winter, it doesn't see any sunlight for 65 days straight. The town used to be called Barrow, but in 2016, the city's name was changed to Utqiaġvik, which means the place where the sun is found. But ironically, during the winter, the sun isn't found here. The reason why it doesn't see any daylight during the winter is because of the tilt of the Earth's axis. The Earth is tilted on its axis by around 23 degrees. As the Earth travels around the sun, different parts of the Earth receive varying amounts of sunlight. During the winter in Utqiaġvik, the sun barely rises above the horizon, if at all. In December, the sun only rises at 11 a.m. and sets at 3 p.m., giving the town just 3 hours of daylight. But as you approach the winter solstice, the days become shorter and shorter. On the winter solstice, which falls on December, the sun doesn't rise above the horizon. Utqiaġvik experiences 6 hours of dim daylight, but there is no sunrise or sunset. After the winter solstice, the days start getting longer again, but it's still not enough sunlight for most of us. In January, the sun rises at 10 a.m. and sets at 4:30 p.m. That's only 6.5 hours of daylight, and it's a similar story throughout the month of January. By February, the sun starts rising earlier and setting later, eventually reaching 12 hours of daylight on February. Then finally, on March, the sun rises at 6 a.m. and sets at 8 p.m., giving the town 14 hours of daylight. And from then on, the sun continues to rise earlier and set later until finally, in April, the sun rises before 5 a.m. and stays in the sky past 10 p.m., giving the town more than 16 hours of daylight. Imagine living in a place where you don't get to see the sunrise for 2 months straight. You wouldn't be able to tell what time of day it is by looking outside. You would have to rely on artificial light, which can mess with your sleep cycle. Studies have shown that exposure to sunlight early in the morning helps to regulate our body's internal clock. Without exposure to sunlight, it's difficult for our bodies to know whether it's daytime or nighttime. It messes with our circadian rhythms, which can lead to insomnia and other sleep disorders. It also has a negative effect on your mood. Sunlight produces vitamin D in the skin, which helps to improve your mood. In addition, sunlight also helps to regulate melatonin, a hormone that promotes good sleep. Without sufficient sunlight, many people experience seasonal affective disorder, which is a type of depression that occurs during the winter. SAD can cause a range of symptoms, including fatigue, difficulty concentrating, and an overall feeling of malaise. So how do the locals cope with living in such darkness for so long? Well, they do have the option of using artificial lights to help regulate their sleep cycles. And many people do this. However, some people also try to adjust their sleep cycles to the natural environment. This can mean going to bed later and waking up later, or it can mean going to bed earlier and waking up earlier. Ultimately, it's up to each individual to decide what works best for them. And while it may take some time to adjust, it is possible to live in a place like Utqiaġvik without experiencing SAD. And that is the story of Utqiaġvik, a town that doesn't see the sun for 65 days straight. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe for more content. Thank you for watching.